There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM. With even more exclusive content, with over 150 channels in your vehicle, including the widest, deepest variety of music, ad-free. Root for your team. Get news. Listen to whatever makes you laugh. And hear all about your favorite stars. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels filled with music and enjoy a favorite shows with SiriusXM Video. Thousands of hours of shows and performances on demand. What you love is on now.
Tonight, we've invited 5 of the most important brands that offer audiophile grade components and to help educate us on the latest offerings within the segment. From high-end amplification to refined drivers, precision DSP and beyond, these are some of the brands that elevate the in-car audio experience to an esoteric level. CMA Live, presented by SiriusXM, the Audiophiles episode, part 2, starts now. Good evening and welcome to another cool episode of CMA Live presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and if you've been following along what's going on here on CMA Networks all month, we've been focused on a very niche part of the industry, the very top, the highest end components possible. We've been geeking out day after day with some of the top brands, and it's been one heck of a ride. I, for one, have had an absolute blast getting into the nitty-gritty and totally nerding out with all these specialists of what's going on in the latest and greatest gear available in high-end car audio. Now, tonight, this is part 2 of a 2-part series. We've invited 5 more brands to the table to give them an opportunity to share with us what they feel audiophile grade audio is all about and what they have to offer in this particular segment. And we do have quite the lineup tonight, starting with our very first guest that represents a brand that means so much to so many. Of course, we're talking about JL Audio, and tonight we have with us their Vice President of Technical Services. You know him as Steve Teresi.
Hey, Ben, what's going on, man?
Good evening, Steve. Thank you for making the time and joining us tonight for this kind of geeky, nerdy chat that we're having this evening.
Of course, geeky, nerdy, that's me.
We found the right guy. That's good news. Now, Steve, I mean, we had a tremendous episode the other day where we went deep and we really went through the philosophy and everything that has to do with the JL mantra. I think that's what I'm going to call it, the JL mantra. Tonight, we're going to break it down a little bit to give people a taste of what that is all about. So my first question to you, Steve, is in the eyes of JL Audio, what does audiophile grade mean to the brand?
Well, I kind of like thinking of the audiophile themselves to determine what that grade might actually be. And for me, an audiophile is just anyone that really likes great quality audio as defined by them. So any product that can help them fulfill that, I think would be audiophile grade. Now, of course, how far they're willing to go to get it, well, that's something else that needs to be discussed. But for me, it really doesn't have to be the most expensive or the craziest or the esoteric, like you mentioned earlier. But anyone that's just looking for really great sound and whatever they're willing to do to go and get that would be audiophile grade. So, you know, obviously all the brands that you've been talking to, including ours, we have a range of products. And I think anyone that could fulfill their expectations of what great quality sound is all about, that would then justify audiophile grade for me anyway.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think many in our industry would agree with that type of definition. Now, you know, when creating the questions for you this evening, Steve, I think, where am I going to begin? Because, you know, JL Audio's got some pretty cool gear across different categories. But I had no choice but to start with one that I think many, you know, audio enthusiasts hold near and dear, and that is the subwoofer category. And more specifically, yeah, I mean, a couple of those, you know, kind of known for it as well. But more specifically, why are JL Audio subwoofers considered to be some of the best in the category, some of the best performing subs on the planet, really? And I can almost pinpoint one that very many hold near and dear, which I think you're going to talk about right here.
It's got a number 7 in it, perhaps?
It does have a number 7 on it, yes, indeed.
So if we focus in on what the W7 really represents, it represents a culmination of 7 or 8 years of just absolute research. And during this research that the engineering team was going through, they were studying everything from motor design to voice coils themselves and suspensions and cone materials and various different aspects of what would normally just be considered speaker design. But they wanted to figure out like how far they could push the envelope on any one aspect of it. And after a couple of years, like they're looking around at each other, it's like, you know what? We could probably build one of these things. It was never really a design effort to come up with what we ultimately came up with. It was really just a research into how do we find the best way to make the best speaker we could. And when we realized that we could actually build one of these things, we got really excited. I remember walking around with a couple of pieces of MDF wood held together with threaded bolts, to hold it together as the first frame as we started cobbling this thing together.
I mean, you didn't have a 3D printer back then?
No, not then. No, that was a 3D printer, but all those were proof of concepts of all the things that the engineers have been toying around with. And then, I remember sitting with Manville listening to some of the earliest versions of it in one of Lucio's vehicles, and we're listening to it. It's like, wow, this sounds different. Is it right? I don't know. Listen to more. We had these big shiny things. They were called CDs that we were like flipping in and out of an in-dash CD player, if you remember such things. And we were listening to songs that we had heard a bunch of times before. We're listening to detail and resolution in the sub bass that was like, it was weird. And it was almost uncomfortable because it just sounded different. And it was, the analogy I use is like so Ben, you wear glasses, I wear contacts, and imagine seeing the world without your glasses on for so many years and then putting them on and seeing that clarity for the first time. It hurts. It's like too much. And that was the audio experience that we, Manville and I were going through, as well as many other people when they first hear a W7. And I think earlier you and I were chatting kind of about what was going to go on tonight, and we were talking a little bit about the W7. And you first look at it, and especially at the time frame it came out, you see this really big surround on it. You see this big tone and a massive depth of the speaker and a huge motor. You think SPL all the way. Immediately. And the truth is, it's not it. That's not what it was intended for. It was intended for sound quality. And I know we're not supposed to get too technical tonight, but as you're listening to audio, as you go down in frequency to maintain a consistent amount of output, you need more and more excursion. And how much excursion depends on where you start off and all that other stuff. So putting an enormous amount of excursion capability in a subwoofer design allows you to play linear to lower frequencies, which that was the goal of the W7. And the cool thing is, going back to audiophile grade, that technology, that research that we spent on that has trickled down into not just every subwoofer we've made, but every single speaker that we've made ever since the W7 research. So that's a great one to mention because it's kind of like the backbone of who we are as a speaker company.
It's like I did my research or something. Like I know how to ask questions, but this is a great segue and launching point, because then along came a development of a new product. JL got real serious about developing some top of the range, full range drivers, right? And along came C7. So what were some of the important goals that were a must achieve amongst the engineering and design team in developing the C7?
Well, C7, anything that's got the number 7 in it is really special to us as a company, judging from the W7 and all the effort we put into that. So when it came to C7, to put that number on that level product, we really just wanted to find out what we could do to make the highest level performing speaker that we possibly could. No holds barred. Cost wasn't an object. With our company, very often it's never an object. We keep making it as good as we can, and whatever the cost turns out, we either make money or we don't. But simple. C7, every aspect of it, I use the analogy. I don't know if the engineers like me saying this, but we design race cars, right? And race cars is not about the pretty paint job on the outside. It's about the motor, the transmission, all the stuff that makes the performance of that car really matter. When it came to C7, that was absolutely it. And it's ironic I'm wearing this color shirt today because this is the color that we launched for C7. But if everyone's looking on the website right now, they're looking, well, why is the cone black? It was because the additive of this color took away some performance from the cone. Subtle as it may be, we had to pull out this custom color that we came out with to make sure that the performance wasn't compromised. No holds barred, no compromise. The color additive added mass and changed the material properties in such a way that we could measure a difference. And as soon as we measured it, it's like, we can't use it. It measures less good than the black one did. So no holds barred, total performance driven, even though we had to compromise in terms of, not going for the prettier color and going back to the same old black, although it's a cool texture, but, but so that kind of gives you some insight into what we're looking for with C7.
I'm really going to take this opportunity to kind of go around the bar and hit up every single corner of that table. We've talked about, the subwoofers. Now you just talked about the C7 full range. Of course, this conversation wouldn't be complete if we didn't mention the VXI amplifiers. Steve, why do you feel the VXI amplifiers are the ultimate culmination of everything that JL Audio has learned, pretty much put into one chassis?
That's a pretty big statement there, and it actually does represent quite a bit. If you go back and you watch the session that you and I did recently talking about the history of JL Audio and the products that we developed, we're not new to DSP, but the VXI, we literally took all the different strengths that we've had. There's Bluetooth involved with our communicator. There's obviously the DSP, the amplifier development, all these things. By far at that time, it was the most massive research project that we had ever undertaken. And it's one of the rare moments in our company's history that we actually shipped an entire line of product at the same time on the day we announced it. So that was huge for us. And, between the software development, firmware development, obviously everything we've learned about system tuning and DSP, we packed it all into what we think is a beautiful form factor that's nice and tiny, really, sharp looking. That was a lot. And, I look at it now and it's like, it's great that it's doing well for us because, man, we put a lot into it. You kind of roll the die. We went headless, meaning that there was no controls on the amplifier. You needed an app to control this thing in some way. And to go away from that input sensitivity control was actually kind of scary for us, because everyone wants to install us. They just like to tinker and play. And we took all that and put it into a computer, and that was scary.
That's almost equivalent to the iPhone home button.
Yes, exactly. When you take all convention and you throw it away. I remember the conversations we had, tech support team and myself and Jeff Schoon, and he says, "Do you think we could do that?" And I'm looking at my tech guys. I said, "You guys are the ones who are going to have to answer these questions."
This is on you, not me. Fair enough.
Fortunately, they had the foresight to say, "Yeah, let's go for it." And I think the result is great. The processing power that we have, the amount of amplifier power that we packed into these things, the type of flexibility that we engineered into it. There's a lot of things that they may seem subtle in themselves, but when you add them all up to what the VXI has become, it's obviously we're quite proud of it, and I have it in my car. I love it. So
there you go. Fair. That's good. That's what we want to hear. My final question is going to be a very unique one, and only can I ask it to you. And you're wondering why are you being singled out? Well, quite frankly put, nobody else makes anything in this category. That's right. I'm talking about the tuning tool category. No stranger, anybody who's tuning into this has already heard about the max measurement system. Why I wanted to bring it up in this conversation, Steve, we're talking audiophile. Why do you feel the max measurement system can be considered a serious audiophile enthusiast? It's an invaluable tool for someone who really cares about the final output of their sound. Why is that?
Well, the last bit that you just shared is exactly how I feel about it. And of course, it has our brand on it, so I'm going to be a little bit biased to this. But being open and honest about it, it is an amazing measurement tool. And we often use the analogy of a CNC router. Now, if you're just making a single box, you really don't need the horsepower and flexibility of a CNC router. So that level of tool may not be necessary. But if you're truly serious about doing this for a living, bringing it back to acoustic measurement, electrical measurements, there is no tool quite like what we've done with the Max. And we've done it because we needed a tool like that as we continue to develop more and more sophisticated products for all the different categories that we're active in. We were looking for the tool that gave us visibility into the measurements like no other. There's been software packages that do that. In fact, we actually license some of those engines to do some of our measurements. But there's all of these other little applets that we kind of put in. And of course, we use our tune software. But one of the things I really like about it, I'm actually quite proud of, is the fact that you are not locked into using JL Audio equipment in order to use Max. You can, obviously, it's our software that's the gateway into using the Max system, but you can measure anything. You can measure home audio, mobile audio, marine audio, power sports, pro sound, whatever it is, and you use whatever DSP control to get the system to be tuned. All the data from some of our micro automations, you can transpose in and do whatever you need to do. My favorite part, of course, is the ability to resolve the time domain. This is something that's been not impossible to do, but cumbersome to say the very least. It usually required a series of multiple sweeps where you take a measurement, look at the result, make an adjustment, then take a new measurement, compare the two, and see if they went the right way or the wrong way. It was slow and clunky, and although you could do it, Max makes that a lot easier. Everything's done in real time. So if you're serious about tuning a DSP-based audio system or just want to take any kind of measurements, you can do OEM integration with it, you name it. That's what Max was really all about. And I'm glad you brought it up, because I think, we've heard from other companies that, offer really great product, that they're using this as a tool for tuning their own systems. And that makes us feel great. That's kind of what we'd hope, that people recognize it as a quality tool like it is.
That rounds it out. Anything more, guys? I know you want me to ask more questions, Steve, but you're just going to have to tune into the show that we did where we go deep. As I said,
definitely check that out, guys. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing it with you, Ben.
One of the most fun shows we've done to date. That's for sure.
Agree.
Steve, thank you so much for coming in tonight and talking to us about JL Audio in the high-end audio domain.
No problem, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Take care. For more information on JL Audio products, here's the website real quick. jlaudio.com is where you want to check it out. Every category, whether it's full range driver, subwoofers, amplifiers, DSP, or even the Max system is on there. And if you happen to be a Canadian dealer tuning in tonight, then you want to give Gemsen a call. They are the exclusive Canadian distributor for all things JL Audio. All right, let's quickly get on to our next guest as the party is officially underway. We're going to move from a full range brand like JL into a very specific specialty European brand that focuses on one thing and one thing alone, and that is drivers, full range drivers, mid rangers, components, active, a la carte, subwoofers, you name it. This is a brand that literally lives to make French sound a reality. Of course, I'm talking about Blam Audio, and joining us this evening, representing MSC, is their specialty dealer development manager, Mr. Chris Van Rye. How's it going,
Ben,
Chris?
how are you?
We're not talking DSP tonight, so I didn't call you the DSP cowboy.
But that's we'll let it slide this time.
We'll let it slide this time. The French sound, Chris, that's where I want to start this dialogue. The brand Blam obviously originates in France from mastermind, Mr. Guy Bonneville, and he is an advocate of this French sound. Can you tell us what that means to Blam?
Yeah, I mean, to understand where the French sound concept came from, we've got to look all the way back. So Guy got his start as a technician in France and was basically looking for high-end drivers for these car applications that he was working on, but was really struggling to find automotive-specific speakers that would fill the void and give the performance that he was looking for. So he actually looked to the home audio market. He started extracting drivers out of cabinets to get higher quality components to use in these installations. And after a little bit of time, it was the world had caught wind of what he was doing, and another speaker manufacturer had actually brought him in to develop a 12-volt specific, automotive specific speaker application. And after a whole bunch of years doing that, he had started to notice some tendencies working with people from all over the world. And everybody, all these different corners of the world had specific things they were looking for in their sound. If you're looking to the Asian markets, they wanted something very flat, very linear. You go to the UK as another huge example, that warm, that rich sound. All these different places had these characteristics to it. And he started to notice that it wasn't just them, but it was France as well. So right in France, he was starting to notice these tendencies of what people were looking for. And that's what had laid the French sound foundation for him. So what Blam was all about was then taking that. In 2013, he had stepped out on his own and launched what was known as Bonneville Labs and more, we now call Blam. He started this program, started to develop his own stuff, and through working through those and his previous contacts, he had started to reach out to a few different distributors globally for people who might be able to help him dial in this product and start the field testing aspects and really put this thing together. So we started working with him on these almost immediately, starting in 2014, field testing right here through our proof of concept retail store by putting these in people's cars, letting them put the miles on them, beat them up and see what they're all about and make sure that these were going to do everything that Guy had designed and hoped for. And sure enough, they did. And by 2017, we as MSC, we were full-fledged with the brand. In 2018, launching into the US side of the market as well. So it's been a long journey. We call this a new brand from an old soul, but it's really a concept that has come together based on that experience and that life in the industry.
I have to recommend for people to check out the episode we did recently about Blam. We actually had Guy with us the entire time, direct from France, and just to hear his story and his take on how this all happened and unraveled, and the little things that happened in his life that initiated some of the major things and decisions that he made with Blam. Certainly worth the tuning in. Let's start right from the top, Chris. I like going top down. Everybody loves top down. Let's go right to the top. Very impressive. I see a picture of it behind you. Of course, I'm talking about the top of the range signature Multix series. You could give us the lowdown on these. These are made in France, are they not?
Correct. All of this stuff here is made in France products. Everything is our own design, top to bottom. Everything from our baskets, our cone materials, the shapes, everything down to the resin that's used in the carbon fiber for the cones is all built to our spec. Really cool stuff. But what truly makes our products unique that you see across this lineup, you can kind of see a little bit in the picture behind me, but you can get actually a little up close here, is this multi-neodymium magnet structure that's utilized on the back. This is what Multix is all about. These guys here are designed to give extreme performance under the most demanding conditions. Everything from the incredible magnet strength that allows full control over these drivers. When we're talking about that, these designs where we've got these openings allows us better ventilation to the voice coil. Again, improved power handling. All of that stuff is factored in, but it's not just when we're looking at our 6-inch drivers or even when we look to the dedicated mid-bass, we've got an 8-inch equivalent in that platform as well. But we also come all the way down into our wideband and mid-range solutions, even our little 3-inch, and my favorite of the whole bunch, which is our brand spanking new 2-inch, gives you this exact same technology and this exact same design and engineering platform carried all the way through from top to bottom. Now with these guys, we're seeing a huge demand for these kinds of small footprint, wideband, extended frequency range drivers. So when you can get these in cars where you can get these on axis, these will extend well beyond the range of human hearing. So you can use this in conjunction with just a dedicated mid-bass driver to make sure that now you've got a simple system. We're not introducing crossovers or phase shift up through the upper mid-range and into the high frequency, so we're getting great response out of that. But there's a lot of cars where we can't get into that kind of stuff as well. So in the Multix line, we've also got a full range of tweeters to go along with it. And with all of this stuff, these are all completely a la carte designs. So no matter what you're building, what your goal for your system is, if you're adapting into factory locations, or if you're able to custom build something for what you're trying to achieve in there, the Blam Multix lineup gives you the complete ability to tailor this in absolutely any direction that you need.
Amazing. So full different range, different tweeters to choose from, 2s, 3s, 6s, 8s. A la carte, you could choose to build your 2, 3, or even 4-way, dare I say, system the way you want it, with that really wicked looking neodymium magnet design or multi-neodymium magnet design. So Give us a couple nuggets, Chris. Like, we're talking about audiophile, and we like geeking out on those little nuggets that kind of make a difference. When it comes to Blam speakers, what are some key characteristics or features that we definitely want to know about?
Well, I mean, there's a handful of things that we really lean into on these guys. One of the big things that Guy is all about when he's designing these kinds of drivers is making sure we've got extremely long voice coils to work with. That makes sure we've got big excursion. Even in this 6-inch, we've got plus or minus 6 mils of total X-Max on these guys. And with the 17-millimeter voice coil, it makes sure that never actually leaves the gap. So we've still always got full control, and we're extracting all of this magnet strength at all times. So even when we're really leaning into these drivers, we're not seeing the kind of breakdown that you can see in a lot of drivers that aren't built to operate at that level. A lot of the other stuff we look at that's factored in when we're dealing with big magnets, lightweight cones, is we're gaining big efficiencies. It's a huge impact when we're talking about getting the output that we want without really having to lean too hard on the stuff that we're looking for. These will definitely take the abuse when you really want to get after it, but it's amazing what you can get when we're utilizing small footprint amplifiers, or low power situations where we can still get the output that we want to have in there. The other side of things is we're also dealing with 2 ohm impedance across the board with all of these guys. So again, making sure that we're getting the maximum power out of our amplification to get everything that we're looking for on the other end of that aspect. I had mentioned the carbon cones on these guys. We talked a little bit about the magnet structures, but another big thing that we do a lot of is in our tweeter designs. This is actually our brand spanking new, what we call the TS20. So this is a beautiful little one that we talked about in that episode that we had done a little while ago here. But one of the big keys behind this is magnesium is a metal. It's a hard dome, but it's on the softer side of that. So it actually does a great job of giving us a compromise between a nice, smooth, soft dome with the extra detail and the extra horsepower that you can feed through the hard dome. So it gives us that nice compromise. That hard dome still gives us the ability to use that dome to dissipate heat. So again, power handling. We're car audio guys. We want to really lean on this stuff and have fun. This is where we get to listen the way we want to listen to. So when we're looking at these little guys, this magnesium dome does a phenomenal job of creating that best of both worlds experience that you can't get in a lot of places.
That Multics line has so many cool signature characteristics. I, for one, can't wait to hold them in my hand to actually feel those because they look so darn cool. But the other series that is very popular and very high end as well is the Signature series, which gets a lot of characteristics trickled down into it. And it is a modern, like it is a popular choice for a lot of systems. I see it on the installs. Why is that?
Well, it gives you a huge percentage of the performance that you're getting in this Multics lineup at a great value. It still maintains the same carbon cone materials. We're still dealing with the aluminum phase plugs, but we're going away from this multi-neo magnet structure. This is not a simple design. It gives us a lot of cool capabilities and technologies, but because of the added cost of the materials and the assembly of this thing versus a traditional ferrite magnet, this puts you up into a little bit of a category for the audiophiles that are really chasing premium ultra high-end performance on these guys. But if you're still looking for something that sounds great but going to be a little bit more forgiving with, that Signature line gives you a huge percentage of what you see in terms of technology and design concepts. But because it goes to that traditional ferrite magnet, it frees up a little bit more on the budget side of things.
So truly it's the magnet going from neodymium to a standard magnet, and pretty much that's where the cost savings will be.
That's the biggest chunk of the difference between those two.
And if I'm not mistaken, that series also offers a couple component sets with passive crossovers, if that's something you're looking for.
Absolutely, yeah. In the Signature series is also designed to be fully a la carte and gives you the same kind of mix. You've got a couple different tweeter platforms to work with. You've got mid-range options, 3-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch, shallow mount 6-inch drivers, 8-inch drivers. We've even got a couple of different 6-inch units, one designed more for high efficiency, low power applications, and one with the bigger magnet and motor structure. So something you can really lean on and have a lot of fun with when you want to.
So let's put this all together. You know, Multi-X obviously is the top of the line concept that's showcasing the best technology, the best features, the best fabrication possible. How does this fit with the rest of the line, and where's this going from here?
Well, it's really cool because all of this stuff comes from that one French brain, from Guy's brain. Every product in the Blam lineup, whether it's Multics, all the way down through the standard Signature, Live, Relax, into our Express category, we're seeing a lot of the same technologies coming through, and we're seeing the same design philosophies, and we're seeing that French sound concept, something that's very focused on mid-range and the emotion in the vocals and capturing those aspects of what you're listening to. From top to bottom, that is the kind of Blam experience that's being delivered through the vehicle. So really gives you some cool concepts to work with. And it doesn't matter which category you're in, even the more technical design philosophies like the low impedance 2 and 3 ohm drivers, high efficiency. You know, we've got speakers that are in excess of 94, almost 95 decibels sensitivity. So again, when we're talking about something that can go in the car and work with amplifiers that are able to tuck in behind side panels or under a seat or even inside the dash, where small footprint DSP-based amplifiers, we can really, really optimize the system to work around that stuff to do really impressive things and provide the client with a visceral experience and a sound experience like he's not used to seeing or experiencing in a car.
Sir, I could not have said that better myself. You jammed a whole bunch of info into my 5 questions and did it brilliantly. Chris, thank you so much for coming in tonight to talking to us about the French sound and Blam speakers.
Happy to be here, Ben. Thanks as always for your time.
Take care. So if you're looking for more information on Blam speakers, they have an international website. You can find that at blam-audio.com, where we can find more details about the Multics or the Signature series that we discussed tonight. And if you're in either Canada or the US, their North American distributor is, of course, MSC, found at msc-america.com. All right. Oof, we got a juggernaut that only the name is only 4 letters, but the footprint is much bigger than that. Of course, we're talking about a brand that literally has everything down packed from Spider-Man to recording artists. Yes, we're talking about Sony. And are we ever lucky to have a brand like this in our industry, still kicking some kick-ass gear out to us through their brand called Sony Mobile ES. With us tonight, we have their global product manager, Mr. Chris Beulah, joining us.
Hey, Ben, how are you doing?
Chris, man, I'm having a good time, as you can see, because I kind of like a kid. You know, we're talking about and geeking out on honestly the highest end stuff. Not necessarily that I can afford it, but my entire life I've chased, that stereophile, audiophile sound, hoping that maybe one day I'll be in a position to actually own some of this gear. But just the chase and the knowledge is really entertaining for me.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if I can live up to that intro you gave me, but I'll do my best to help out.
You can do it. You can do it. You're lucky I didn't emphasize the global product training manager.
Yeah, that's right.
Is coming join little old us here, so we appreciate that for sure. Oh, man, this was a big one. Like coming up with 5 questions only for this one was tough. I'm going to tell you right now, but I think we deserve some mic time here, so that our industry, that being the car audio industry, gets a better handle on what mobile ES or ES, in fact, means to Sony when Sony dedicates themselves to coming out with product with that moniker.
Yeah, I mean, we had a request, to kind of bring the mobile ES sub brand back to Sony for the car side, probably 5 years ago or so. And it took quite a while to not only convince Japan that it was the right move, but also kind of make the business sense to back up the move and the effort to not only recreate that sub brand, but also really create pretty astounding product for their price point that would also still leave room for our core products to still live and breathe and grow, within their categories as well. So there was a lot of responsibility that we kind of took on and shouldered when we were developing this new mobile ES, brand with car audio. We had a lot to live up to, frankly. Now not everybody in the industry has had any experience with mobile ES. You've got some of the old school guys that may have seen some of it back in the late 90s. Maybe some play with it. Maybe some still even have some of those pieces laying around, or even in a car. You'll be amazed at some of the stories that we hear about some of that product still kicking around. But we had a lot of responsibility to not abandon, kind of that quality, that mindset that was attached to that original mobile ES, but also bring it into a new generation, make it something that was usable nowadays, applicable and affordable. Like, we wanted great value, just like every Sony product has, right? So a lot of bang for your buck, if you will,
I can certainly feel the responsibility when you're going to come out with product like that. So we're going to start with the one that kind of shook everything up from the get-go. I remember where I was when I got my first text message from a show with this unit, and next thing I know, it was all over the place. Of course, we can't talk enough about it. You and I have spent a lot of time, but yes, we're going to take more time to talk about it because it deserves the time. The XAV 9500 ES. Listen, go to the episode that Chris and I do. We go deep. He literally lays it out down to the processors and the thingamadoozies and the gizmos and gadgets.
The whatchamacallits, you called it.
The whatchamacallits. We don't need to go into that today, but we do want to give you an opportunity to kind of express just a couple of the amazing features that were built in and engineered into a unit. First, let's talk about the sound first. We're gonna talk about the features after. Let's just talk about the sound quality for now.
Yeah, I mean, when we were creating mobile ES, we had to raise the bar a bit, right? Now, we raised the bar many years ago when we introduced our RSX GS9 which was not a Mobile ES product. That was introduced in, I think, 2015 or 2016. And so that was out, and that kind of set the bar for getting high res audio into a car, right? That was fairly unheard of back then, believe it or not. Trying to get high res tracks, for instance, and put them into a vehicle was cumbersome at best. It wasn't easy. And although that head unit was pretty spectacular in terms of the sound processing, the sound quality, the engineering that went into it just to recreate the perfect sound, there were a lot of drawbacks, right? It wasn't user friendly. It had a small 8-digit display on it. It had a beautiful volume knob. Frankly, I would
Everybody loves
recommend
the knob, though. I have to
Listen,
say,
I'm going to
people
tell you
love
straight
that
up, man.
potentiometer.
Listen, the way to sell that product was to show it on display or in a demo car and just have somebody get in and turn it.
Yeah.
Because it felt like that home theater, just grabbing that dial and cranking it. It was a beautiful thing, right? But for your average consumer who is audiophile kind of, territory, right? They love good sound. They want good sound. They don't mind paying for good sound. When you're presenting them with a head unit like that, which was pretty awesome, they're also looking for some of the other items in that head unit, usability, right? And it just simply didn't have it, So with the introduction of the 9500 ES, we wanted to take all of those sound processing and sound quality traits that the GS9 introduced many years ago, upgrade those, and then put in all those creature comforts, if you will, in this new head unit, make it usable for your everyday driver.
So speaking on those creature comforts, there's a couple that people need to know, because I've said this a couple of times. I'm going to repeat myself here because I think it's an important message. Audiophile. I asked Steve Teresi in the beginning, so what's audiophile? At the end of the day, we're trying to reproduce live music, right? That's what we're trying to do. That is the goal, and we're trying to do it in its most purest form possible, which is not stained, not affected by anything. Great. I think we've all established that. But we are working in the confines of a car, man. Like, I need to drive this thing to work. I need to answer my phone. I can't be texting, and I need my voice command. And if there's chimes in my car that I paid for with the technology that comes with it, well, I don't know if Ben Wu version 2022 is comfortable losing those creature comforts. And I appreciate that Sony recognizes that as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't remove vehicle features when you're putting product into it, or at least not in my world, right? I would never recommend that. And from a safety standpoint, you want to equip the driver not only with great sound, that's always a number one priority with us, but you also have to make their environment usable and safe. And with the wireless CarPlay, the wireless or wired Android Auto, the Maestro features that incorporate and can maximize some of the features that are available in your vehicle network in your dashboard, so you can control everything right on the screen. We've literally given you everything you could want in that head unit. So you're not losing any of the features in your vehicle, assuming that it's supported by Maestro or some other third-party harness that will allow that. And you're getting on top of that all of the great sound and engineering that we put into that chassis. So pretty cool mix.
Man, it's like you had the checkbox list like 50 items long, and somehow you managed to check them all off, which is super cool.
Listen, man, it's no lie. I think if the 9500 ES was a child, I think you'd try to adopt it, because you love that dash.
I do, because you know what? It checks all the buttons. I didn't even mention the fact that it's a giant flat screen. Like, that is the way to go. You could have chosen any form factor. You went with that one, right?
Yeah.
I can keep going, but anyways, the point is, it's got great sound quality. We didn't even talk about the chassis. Anyways, watch the show. We go deep.
Yeah, listen, if you're listening to this, you've got to go watch the other show that we did, because I showed some pretty cool pictures about how the chassis was designed to minimize any interference between the components on the board, some of the Class AB premium amplifier components that are on the board.
Stuff.
Like, everything is laid out in detail. So go watch that show.
Watch that, and then you will be equipped to upsell every customer that walks through your store to that unit.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, we can be here forever. Let's talk about amplifiers. That was kind of the latest addition to the mobile ES family of product. Lots of design and thought went into this. I know that you're very proud of the fact that these things are installable. I don't know if that's a word, but that's the word I'm going to use in the modern situation, modern environment, modern vehicles. Tell us about some of these important design criteria that you were successfully executed when developing these new mobile ES amplifiers.
Yeah, so like always, premium sound and accurate reproduction of sound were top priorities for the design of these. And what we've done is we've taken it to the next level with putting a lot of power into these chassis. I mean, the chassis are not very big for these amplifiers. We have 3 of them currently available. We have a 1ES, which is our mono amp. We've got a 4ES, which is our 4-channel amp, and we have the 5ES, which combines the same 4-channel output power as the 4ES, and it gives you about 75% of that monoblock amplifier as well. And even just the 5-channel is a little less than 16 inches by 9 inches. I mean, it's still pretty compact for the power output that it's got. So we really wanted to make sure that we gave the technician the tools and kind of the ease of use when you're putting this into the vehicle. Listen, it's an old school kind of thing in this industry. If the guys in the back don't want to put it in, the guys up front won't sell it, right? And we believe very strongly in that. Most of our team on the SNA team here, we're technicians, right? We want to make sure that the techs in the back are happy, right? It makes the sale easier. And everything from either ferrule or bare wire power cable inputs to a simple left to right setup adjustment on all the settings on all of the amps. It's very consistent across all of them, to high pass, low pass, band pass, or off filters on all the channels. I mean, just simply a huge flexible powerhouse that's going to be in this chassis. So pretty cool stuff.
We're not even going to take the time to talk about all the variable summing scenarios that these amplifiers have on hand, depending on what you need to achieve from a factory signal, especially with the high level inputs. Anyways, again, I'm going to say it again. Watch the darn episode. We get deep into all that scenario. Okay, my final question for you this evening. We're going to round out the mobile ES offering. We got to talk about the speakers and the subs. These are very unique looking. So we've got some pretty unique characteristics. So why do you feel that these are just literally the best companion to the amps as well as the source unit?
Yeah, I think so we've got a pretty darn good sound engineering team in Japan that really takes a lot of time and care when they're developing the materials, developing the frames, developing the structures to recreate to create a speaker that will recreate sound accurately. Like if you've noticed, from the 9500 in the front of the car through the amplifiers out to the speakers and the subs, our priority is good sound and accurate sound. Those are the 2 things that we kind of live by in the development of all of this mobile ES product. And the speakers and subs are no exception. We've incorporated, features, and again, the show the other day kind of went into depth on some of them, but, a notched edge surround, which keeps the cone centered as it moves up and down, the aluminum shorting ring that's built into it to minimize the distortion created by that magnetic flux as that speaker moves up and down. There's just a lot of really good engineering built into these speakers. And the best thing that they do is they recreate the sound exactly as it was intended, from the source unit through our amps and then out the speakers. You're getting the sound as the artist intended.
And I have to comment, my one last final comment on that is the craftsmanship and the quality execution, the machining, all that stuff. I mean, take a look at it, guys. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Chris, I can't talk about this one enough. I always love having you on, and I am very, very curious as to where this mobile ES yellow brick road will go. So I'm pretty excited about this.
So yeah, listen, I will give you a teaser hint. We have some really cool things coming by mid next year, and you guys should stay tuned because there's going to be a really cool a couple things coming down the road. So
very
for
good.
sure.
I knew that yellow brick road was leading somewhere.
Yeah,
we'll be
for
patient.
sure.
We'll be
Always.
patient. Thank you, Chris. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Ben. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
That was Chris Beulah from Sony. And if you want more information from Sony, listen, we're going to show you this website, sony.com. It's not a, obviously sony.com. It's a huge site that could lead to so many things. Go further, go deeper, go into the car audio side of things. And in car audio, you will find the entire mobile ES lineup. If you happen to be a dealer in Canada, they are still actively seeking mobile ES dealers. There's some requirements involved, so get a hold of Gentech. They will give you the info on what it takes to become an authorized dealer for mobile ES in Canada. All right, thank you so much again, Chris. Our next guest, we're going to jump from Sony Mobile ES to a very, very refined Italian brand. We're all over the place tonight. France, US, Japan. We're talking about Mosconi amplifiers. Mosconi amplifiers made in Italy, known for their amplifiers, known for their DSP. And this year has been a big year for Mosconi as they came up with a couple game-changing models that got people all up in a mess. I had a chance to sit down with Nick Wingate, their product trainer, to get the scoop on what's going on audiophile side with Mosconi. Here's how it went. Hey, Nick, this month is all about audiophile. I know you and I have so much banter behind the scenes talking about this stuff because we're so passionate about it. But I guess the first question I want to ask you, what does audiophile grade mean to both Mosconi and to Nick Wingate?
Well, it's basically one and the same thing. It's about how close to the recreation of live music can we obtain. Home, car, it doesn't matter. That's what audiophiles are always after. And when you're talking about an audiophile grade product, that means that, to me, that's what is a product that was developed to basically keep the signal coming from your source as pure as possible so that your product, whatever it is, amplifier, preamp, DSP, I don't care, reveals everything that's on the recording. That's audiophile grade. And whether it's parts or whether it's the design or whether it's the summation of all of that right there that we're talking about, that's what it means. You know, how close to live can we make it? Because that's the goal. You know, that's what it brings all the emotional response that we're looking for.
And just to be clear, it's all the mistakes and little errors in those live performances as well. That's the whole point. It's not about being perfect. It's being accurate. I think
Absolutely.
that's the right word.
You know, absolutely. You know, there are recordings out there that, you know, people will say, I've never heard that before. And that tells you that the product is that good.
Mm-hmm.
Speaker, amplifier. No.
Well, on that note, we're going to dig into some product here because Mosconi's kind of been on a war path this year anyhow. I know you're very happy to talk about these items, and so am I. I'm going to start at the one that's causing a ruckus, and that is the new Mosconi Pro Series 430 model. We get in deep with it. We've seen some reactions from guys like Dean and Fernando, but I have you here. In your opinion, why do you feel the launch of this particular model is causing such a stir?
Well, I think at the price point that we're bringing this thing in at, there's nothing else out there that gives you the presentation of the music the way the amplifier can. You know, the British have a saying in their audiophile world of it lets go of the notes. And that's what this amp does. Whatever it's thrown at it, I don't care what it is an effortless process from the source going into the amplifier to it coming out and going to the speakers. It doesn't add anything into it. It doesn't take anything away from it. And that's very difficult for amplifiers to do because a lot of people will say, oh, amplifiers all sound the same. That's the biggest load of you-know-what I've ever heard of because there are sonic signatures of every amp, be it singulated triode tubes or a big solid state monoblock amplifier. I don't care. They all have sonic signatures. But when you have an amplifier that doesn't add anything to it or takes away anything from the music, that's what this amplifier does. It doesn't take anything away. It doesn't add anything to it. All it does is amplify the signal. And here you go. This is the reason the amp is effortless, is flawless. It has this huge sound stage The depth, the three-dimensionality is just incredible. If you have a DSP in your system and you tune your car correctly, you will obtain holographic imaging in the car. And Ben, you've heard Jim Rogers on here with us the other day talking about his soundstage and how it changed in his truck. He went from
and he was going from Pro Series to Pro Series, just that 430 model running his front stage, and he's running Utopia M's on top of that.
Yeah, on top of it, and he will, hurt him. It's jaw dropping. That is the technology. That's the circuit design. That's what folks at Moscone have created. That's the reason why this amp, is very difficult to get your hands on, because they can't build them fast enough. We have
everyone that's coming is already sold out, right, Nick? I mean, we're on the second order now.
That's already gone. And we got more coming, but we all know the sourcing parts, how it is today, and especially when they're all hand picked, and they have to listen to every single solitary amplifier before it leaves the factory. That makes things a little more difficult.
Now, we're not going to give too much away, because I want people to go watch the one where we go deep. But no doubt about it, guys, the Pro 430 model, very special amplifier, doesn't sound like the rest of the range, although it looks the same. It's the same chassis and all that stuff. But tune into that session we do with Nick, where we find out exactly what makes it tick differently. Now, on the amplifier tip, there wasn't only one release. There was another release that came out that's also kind of lighting things up. But this is a little bit more of an all-inclusive solution type platform, whereby it's 8 channels of DSP power. We're talking about the Pro 830. And why is this such the ultimate platform for high-end system building?
Well, like you said, there's a built-in AUDIOPHILE processor into an 8-channel amplifier. Especially when we're talking about a Class AB amplifier. It's all Class AB, all 8 channels. There's 90 watts by 4 and 170 by 4. And when you're given the flexibility that the amplifier gives you, plus, it also has all 8 channels to be controlled internally by the processor. And then it has 4 analog outputs on it, 4 RCA outputs, where you can run external amplifiers off of it, and the DSP controls all 4 of those channels. Your flexibility is huge. Plus, you get all of the processing power and problem-solving capabilities of the Moscone processing GUIs. The software, and this segues into your next question. I know you're going to talk to me about the H12 aerospace. The flexibility that the processor has in it in solving problems. That's a big key. You can build a 6-channel amplifier. You can build a 8-channel amplifier. You can use a 7-channel. You can build a 6-channel. You can build it's way different in that you've got all this power, all this flexibility. It is Class AB. It is going to sound better. It's on a 530 chassis, which isn't huge, by the way. And you have all of the DSP power that all the Moscone standalone DSPs have. That gives you just about everything you need to make a system, to just about build any system you want in one amplifier. And if you end up you wanting to have a center channel and you want rears, okay, then add another 4-channel amplifier into it, and you're good to go.
I mean, the flexibility on 8 channels, especially staggered powered, like the way you just described, you can do, a single amp, but imagine taking 2 of those and running a left-right configuration and everything bridged into a 3-way active with 2 subs. Wow. That's insane. And the whole thing processed. Now, you mentioned it, aerospace. Is it truly the actual aerospace DSP found within the 830, or is it a rendition of?
It's a different version of it.
It's a different version of. Okay.
Yes, it has a different digital analog converter in it. It is 2448 because of size constraints. Because of the difference in the topography, and they had to use a different DAC chip. But the DSP engine, from what I understand, is the same.
Fair enough. Which leads me to my next question. The 812 aerospace DSP is regarded as one of the highest end and best sounding sound processors in our industry. I'd like to hear in your words why you believe that to be true.
Well, I mean, first of all, any DSP is part of a preamp signal. And I can tell you that listening to all the different processors that are out there, and Ben, you and I know there's really not a bad processor out there right now. There really isn't. Anybody, almost everybody's DSP is really good. I don't care who builds it. But when we're talking about preamp signal and how quiet preamps have to be in order for you to get everything out of a 430, that's where this thing begins to shine. Its signal to noise ratio is huge. The part complement in it it's literally Filippo chose it by hand. They listen to every single solitary piece on the board. So when we're talking about having signal that is as clean as possible to maintain the audiophile grade properties that we were talking about, that's a big key element. And yes, of course, it has all the processing power, all the problem solvings, being able to go and understand that if you have to sum a signal and we have to use all pass filters to make it clean, to make it as simple as possible, to give me a flat line to work with. It's got that in it. If we need
phase correction,
all the phase corrections on the time limit, it has all of that built into it, and more. And I could spend an hour on it, but we're not going to. But suffice it to say, it is as clean as they can make it. It's dead quiet. You're going to get everything that's coming into the processor out, whether it's a digital signal or it's an analog signal. You're going to get the best possible signal you can possibly get right now, this minute, going into your amplifiers.
And to be clear, the 812 is not the same type of product as, the one under it, also with the aerospace name on it. I believe it's a lower channel setup, but it's not the same processor power, or not the same quality.
The 628 aerospace has a 2496 DAC in it, whereas the 812 has a 24192 capability in it. So yeah, and the parts are different. The complement is different. Okay. It's still aerospace, in which it's a very clean processor. Don't get me wrong, but is it an 812? And the answer to that is no.
So for our audiophile grade nerds out there, if the one you want to look at, definitely the 8 to 12 aerospace DSP. All right, we're at the final question, Nick, and of course we're going to have a little bit of fun tonight. Help us piece together in the mind of Nick Wingate the ultimate system using the latest components available now from Mosconi, as well as including DSP. And you know what? Throw in some speakers of choice and help me explain why you would put that system together the way you have.
Well, this is a fairly simple thing because I'm actually about to do this. I'm going to start out by having a 3-way component system. And yes, I'm biased. I will be using M-Profile. Thank you very much. There'll be an M-Profile 8, 3-inch tweeter on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side of the car. I will have a M-Profile 3.5 and M-Profile tweeter for center channel. My rears are going to be a M-Profile 6.5 with M-Profile tweeters, TVM tweeters.
You're putting M's in the rear.
Yes.
Yes,
and there will be a 110WM that will be going in the car. So that's this is all Focal Utopia M product. We will be going fully active throughout the entire system. With that being in mind, then I'm going to take one Pro 430. I'm going to bridge it to 3 channels. I would be putting one on the left, which will run tweeter mid bass driver, one on the right, tweeter mid bass driver. I will have a 430 dedicated for the rear stage. Okay, I will have a Pro 210 for my center channel, and there will be a Pro 110 on my sub. So if you count them
that's
up,
5 chassis. If I kept the track
there. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then the H12. And then, so we're looking at 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 speakers. So this means I need 2 H12s because of the sound.
Yeah.
And I would be running a digital output off of one of the one H12 going to the digital input on the second H12, so that I can maintain linearity and the volume control will still work on both of them. Yes, it's a hell of a lot of money to spend just to get a subwoofer control, but considering how important the subwoofer control is as far as staging and depth of stage is concerned and impact is concerned, I've got to have it. So yeah, I'm going to use it.
I appreciate you've actually been giving thought to this. This is very cool. I am really excited to hopefully share some of that build. I don't know when that may
Oh, yeah.
happen, but definitely the build would be super interesting.
It will
Nick,
happen early next year.
there we go. Maybe we'll see it sometime in the spring. Maybe we'll see
Oh,
how
yeah.
it goes. Again, guys, tune in for the full show that we do with Nick on Moscone. Especially, we go deep into the amplifiers, both the 430 and the 830 as well. So you can find out exactly what makes it tick, because we literally geek out on that, Nick and I, for like an hour and a half. All right, Nick, thank you so much for coming in today. And it's always fun hanging out with you, but more fun when we're talking about high-end gear, of course. Thank you so much.
Anytime, brother. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
Take care, sir.
Bye-bye.
So for more information on all Moscone products, as discussed with me and Nick, you want to check out their website, moscone-america.com. Check out that new 430 as well as that 830. And if you happen to be a dealer in Canada, then get a hold of Trends Electronics, trendsinc.com. They are the official Canadian distributor for all things Moscone. Our final guest and final brand is, basically born and bred in the competition lanes. This is a no hassle, no BS. This is straight to engineering at its best, and they're loud and proud about it. Of course, I'm talking about ARC Audio, and I had a chance to sit down with their international sales manager, Fred Lynch, to break down the whole concept, philosophy, and view that ARC Audio has on the audiophile side of things. And this is how it went. Hey, Fred, tonight it's all about audiophile grade gear. And of course, with ARC Audio here, I think I got to get started with the elephant in the room. And that is the fact that we've been talking about this top of the line multi-channel DSP incorporated flagship amplifier, which apparently is now shipping. Can you tell us all about the Blackbird?
Well, the Blackbird is a very compact solution amplifier, multi-channel. It's actually based off of a 8-in and 12-out concept on there. So we're doing 8 channels in, 8 channels out amplified with 4 additional channels of RCA connection. Now, keep in mind, we use the term, a lot of people use the term audiophile, but audiophile definitely is within the eye of the listener, or the ear of the listener, as they would say. And we are definitely continuing our, call it our legacy that we've had of these acoustically transparent, very open, very natural sounding amplifiers that literally are designed to do one thing, and that is reproduce what you put into them and nothing more. But of course, though, we have our Pro Series DSP platform with all the updates and upgrades into it built into this super compact chassis, giving you probably one of the best solutions for power, aftermarket, and OEM integration use all in one shot. And the thing is a lot of fun to listen to, and most importantly, it sounds great.
I want to add, it's also in a pretty compact form factor, which is impressive that you jammed all that in there. So,
well, you have to, because people, as much as a lot of us loved the 80s and 90s, and it was about how big you can put a stereo in and all that stuff. And, back in the days of, oh my God, look at that amplifier. I think my surfboard was smaller than that.
Yeah.
The fact is, people, especially with gas prices going up, they don't want heavy amplifiers. They don't want to take up a bunch of real estate. They want to be able to use their vehicles. So real estate in a vehicle is at a premium. So compact size, realistic power numbers, OEM integration to where you're not screwing with a lot of today's new modern vehicle technologies, and being able to, give you that best sound, and that tailored sound is what's most important. And that's exactly what the Blackbird was designed for.
I wanted to start tonight's dialogue with you, Fred, because amplifiers is something that's very important at ARC Audio. It's got a rich history, with one of your chief designers, let's call him. I want to take this opportunity to kind of ask you about what is that signature design that have competitors and enthusiasts like just so loyal to that ARC Audio amplifier category?
It's no secret. Our head engineer, Robert Zeff, he's been in this industry a long time. We refer to it as the Z Company. But of course, he started that company. God, I forget how, it was a long time ago. And of course, then he sold the company and then decided he wanted to get into engineering, and of course that's when he stepped in. One of the things about having somebody who has a legacy in audio design as far as amplifiers go, he wrote for different magazines. He wrote a lot of articles on there. One of the articles he wrote was called "The Anatomy of an Amplifier," which if you search around online, you can find. It's an excellent article that it has a very dumbed down way of teaching people the difference between the different classifications of amplifiers. But most importantly, though, having that resource in-house and having that, call it that Robert Zeff style design, is part of our key signature and to our company and all of our electronics, because most importantly, you should always be able to reproduce what you put into the amplifier and not have the electronics color it. And that is something that's very important to him. And it's usually a very characteristic, very templated and almost trademark style sound that people are used to when they listen to our amplifiers. We don't artificially put things into it. And it's making sure that you get what you're supposed to and nothing more. And that's one of the key characteristics to it. And having his experience is irreplaceable. And that's one of the reasons why he's got a phenomenal crew that he works with in his engineering department now. And he's basically brought a lot of people underneath him. And those other people at the facility, Richard and Brent and all them, they're all contributing to it. And over the years, they've all become one big system on there. And that's why we're developing some of these really advanced products and still being able to claim that we're doing it in-house ourselves, and we're not doing any part of any of our products, especially electronically, outside of our core company.
Absolutely. Very vital to the message. It's always been, from the first day I met you, Fred, that's been the message that you've consistently wanted to convey. Now, you're going to see that these questions I've prepared are kind of like category by category. We talked about Blackbird, we talked about amplifiers. There's an interesting one I've been saving for you. How do you consider, or how do you regard DSP as audiophile? That's a trick question, so I want to hear your take on it from an ARC Audio perspective.
So, DSPs were almost a stigma in the car audio industry. It just kind of, there was only a very few companies that were doing anything with it going into 2010, 2012. 2012, we came out with the PS8, and of course, the focus on it was high end. And since then, in the last 10 years, the industry has been absolutely proliferated with DSP designs, tons of different options, different price tags. You can find DSPs out there for $250, but you really do get what you pay for. Component selection, design, the materials used, those things all have a serious effect, especially in the world of digital processing. And being able to understand that is something that's very critical to it. And unfortunately, it still goes back to the days of subwoofer amplifiers when somebody says, well, your 1,000-watt amplifier costs me $500, but I can buy, or in today's prices, let's say this 1,000-watt amplifier is going to cost me $900 to $1,000, but I can go to the swap meet and get a 1,000-watt amplifier for $250. There is a difference in what you get. And from the main DSP chip to the way the boards are laid out to every component involved, there is a huge difference between what would be deemed as an audiophile DSP versus just a DSP. And that is something always to remember in trying to figure out what exactly you're looking for. If you are truly looking for that emotional, acoustical experience with your system and being able to produce that music in your vehicle the way that you want without having it colored or muffled or sounding kind of like this, I've seen and heard the horror stories myself. And you do, I would say in most cases in this industry, get what you pay for. And there is a lot of DSPs out there that are very inexpensive. And maybe that's good enough, but maybe it's not. And if you want more, that's where you do have to look to those premium DSPs out there to truly get that transparent experience with audio without having it without having it sound like it's actually a processed system. And that's something that's a big problem in this industry.
All right, very well said. The story of the RS speakers. I'm going to the speakers now. It's interesting because, the orange juicers, as we all know them by, they have a very strong use and presence in the competition side of things. A lot of your competitors who are very successful run those as kind of front stage. If you want to guys, tune in. We have a whole episode where we dive deep into this. Go check it out. But for the purpose of this evening's conversation, what do you want people to know when it comes to high-end speakers that, hey, ARC Audio is definitely in the game?
Coming from a foundation of a company that was based off of competition, competitors, still supporting competition, it's absolutely critical as a company that we do things like, one, look at the best out there, listen to the best out there. And that's one of the reasons why we use our competitors, our competition team, and a whole lot of people that are very much into the high-end audio market, not just car, but also home, pro, musicians. And we take a lot of that feedback and bring that into our products. When it comes to speakers, I mean, we teamed up with two very, very knowledgeable gentlemen that have a huge history of audio out of Denmark, developing and designing some of the most high-end, best sounding, at least in our opinion, home and pro audio speakers out there. And they have a huge level of knowledge in mobile audio as well. And so we teamed up and did a joint project with them. And, that literally set a new pattern and a new testament towards the overall design of all of our speakers and all of our products, from RS all the way down to X2, with what we've learned, not just from them, but what they've learned from us as well. And, it's about, chain is only strong as the weakest link. And if you don't build your speakers to hold up and deliver the way that you do your amplifiers and your DSPs, honestly, that becomes the Achilles heel in a system. So we have to make sure that we do our job right, we bring it in, and most importantly, we actually listen to our product too. So our product doesn't hit the market until we've actually used it, until we've gotten feedback from some of our select customers that we do testing with, dealers, things like that. We have to make sure that we're listening to our customers and our dealers and giving them what they want, giving them the best value for the money.
I'm going to put my little 2 cents in here. You know how I've always said ARC Audio is not about the packaging, and it's not about the marketing fluff. But of all the product, I'm going to say that the RS speakers are probably the sexiest from a visual appeal standpoint. The magnet, the design, the cast basket, the trim. Yeah, I know you don't like that, but I'm telling you anyways. All right.
You got to remember one thing though. At a higher end price point, there's a lot of people out there that if it looks ugly and it's got a high price tag on it, they're going to say, "Why are we paying for this?"
No, but that one delivers. That series there definitely delivers. Okay. My favorite question of the evening. I have Fred Lynch to myself, so I'm going to ask you the question. We all know, because if any of you follow Fred on social, he's building this ridiculous car. It's his flex again, but he's ripped everything out. He's putting arguably way too much gear back into it, but it doesn't matter because it's super fun. Why am I saying that? I want you to erase that for a second. I want you to pretend that I just dropped a brand new vehicle on your driveway, and now your mission is to build a reference system to represent ARC to your liking. Using your ARC components, describe said system. Go.
So I've been in this industry now for 27 years, and I've done systems, everything from the ground up, absolutely custom, no panel left untouched. Which is funny you bring up the Flex, because the Flex was actually, honestly, out of all of them, my biggest challenge. Mm-hmm. And yet I think it's the biggest learning lesson out of all of them, because instead of just going in, hey, I can chop up this panel, refabricate it, mold it, do this and that, my other half gave me a direction to do what I want, but without, one, taking a single ounce of usable cargo space, without ruining any of the OEM design and function to the electronics of the vehicle and the control of the vehicle, and still being able to use the vehicle for family purposes. Now, with that said, why did I bring that up? Because if I had to start all over again, the first thing I would do would be not starting with the system. I would probably go out and buy my car based off of the platform I have to build a system off of. Okay. And, but I think from a challenge standpoint,
let me be clear. There's no parameters to dual purpose this vehicle as a family vehicle. Nor am I telling you to rip out and put a center steering wheel system. That's not what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is from what my next system would be from an audiophile standpoint. Start with the platform, have a vehicle, and go with a vehicle that allows or has the available technology, in case any of the Fords, any of the Hyundais, anything with Maestro compatibility with ARC stuff. I would probably buy a car simply based off of whether or not it has Maestro AR integration capability, because you can keep the factory radio, and most of the new radios these days actually sound really good. I would definitely go with a RS series 3-way front end on it, tweeter 3 and 6. simply because the fact that, well, I still am a very big proponent of, hey, I'm in the driver's seat. I want to listen to it.
Yeah, this is about you, Fred. Make no mistake. Let's keep it going.
But I'd be doing a tweeter or 3 in the pillar. I'd be doing a 6 or something bigger in the doors or in the kick panels. And then I would build it off of there. And just because the fact that I know that I'm going to demo it for people who live in a world of headphones, I want to be able to make sure I also have rear channel entertainment and environment for people to sit in and be able to actually try to have it sound good in both seats. Is it a textbook, oh my God, your stage is this big and, everything's placed right? No, I want to have fun with it. I want to be able to put any kind of music into it and play it. I would absolutely be using any of our Pro Series DSPs. To be honest with you.
Does that mean not the Blackbird then?
Well, the Blackbird has the Pro Series DSP built into it.
Fair enough.
So it's the Pro Series technology. But the more I can get in an integrated platform, like I'm doing right now with the Blackbirds, I would use the Blackbirds again in a heartbeat. They're acoustically transparent. AB versus other amplifiers that we've done, including some of our own, they truly do sound better. And they're small and compact. But being able to create that massively big sound that people hear and they expect you to open up the back and have half the vehicle gone, and yet still being able to have the entire vehicle usable, functional, and all that, that is my audiophile system. Because audiophile does not mean you have to eliminate functionality of vehicle. So, and that right there is the biggest challenge out there.
Subwoofers? What's up?
ARC series right now.
ARC series right now. So yeah, you don't care about the enclosure space. ARC series it is. Gotcha.
Well, if I have the room. If not, I would go with A series, only because the fact that I know that they will run in super, super small enclosures.
Very best. All right. That's it. I juiced you, buddy. Thank you so much for coming on tonight and sharing with us a little bit of insight from an ARC audio perspective. And again, remind our listeners, do go check out that full show that we have Fred and we talking audiophile with ARC audio the entire session.
We got a lot of stuff coming up in that one. So
you definitely want to tune in for that. Thanks a lot, Fred.
Thanks.
And if you want to find out more information about any product that Fred referred to in that interview, check out arcaudio.com. That is the official website of ARC Audio. And you can find out about the Blackbird and everything else. And if you happen to be in Canada, their exclusive distributor, contact Importel, importel.com, if you happen to be a dealer in Canada. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the brands that joined us this evening for some audiophile chat, of course, including Sony, JL Audio, Brax, Moscone, and ARC Audio. I want to remind you to continue tuning in to CMA Networks right through till November 10th, because we are deep into the audiophile sessions as we feature literally a new brand every single day. Tune in at 12 p.m. for the audiophile sessions. There they are, 12 p.m. Check out those brands. Awesome. Now, one more, well, there's a few more times I'm going to remind you, but right now, if you're watching this, head over to cmanetworks.com/giveaway, because we are giving away 2 full, complete, all-inclusive trips to Master Tech Expo 2023. Literally one for a winner from Canada, one winner from the US, everything included, flights, you name it. Master Tech Expo 2023, cmanetworks.com/giveaway. Sign up today. We're giving it away in 3 weeks from now. And while you're there, check out all the great videos we do, whether it's more CMA lives covering every topic you can think of, or any of the brands that are covered tonight, or any of the trainers that came on with us this evening. They have their own profile on our platform, cmanetworks.com. It's where the 12-volt industry connects. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us this evening on CMA Live, presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
Roll it down.
I am.
You don't need a car to listen to SiriusXM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What?
Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on Sirius XM.
What?
This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it.
What?